This is the NSU Kettenkrad. Now, Kettenkrad literally means tracked motorcycle. That's precisely what it is. Designed by NSU in 1938, not as a military vehicle, but as an all-terrain forestry tractor for use in the forests of Germany. When the war broke out, it was offered to the Wehrmacht. They were desperately impressed with the more iconic vehicles of World War II. This is the Willys Jeep. Designed to meet the need the American Army had for a lightweight Jeep. Ford wanted to brand it when they decided to, when they were allowed to make the Jeep, they wanted to brand it as a Ford vehicle. And the American War Department said, no, you can't do that. Iconic vehicles. Let's have a look at a really rather unusual one. This vehicle probably owes a bit more to the beaches of Dunkirk than it does to the dunes of the Sahara. This is the Morris Light Reconnaissance Car, often referred to simply as the Morris Armoured Car. Now, when I was a little bit uncharitable about the Morris Armoured Car, it did its job. It was very necessary to get some kind of armour available to protect the south coast immediately after Dunkirk. This vehicle, I've got nothing but praise for. This is the Daimler Scout Car. Now often, when we're talking about armoured vehicles, we're often talking about armoured vehicles being compromises or being given jobs which they were never necessary. Now, when Daimler took over the Bovington factory, BSA, Bovington Small Arms, they've got a couple of vehicles on the car. One of them was the Dingo. This was the other one. This one wasn't actually in production until 1941, but this is the Daimler Armoured Car, a kind of beefed up version of the Dingo. Designed, we didn't even take it. So we've seen a couple of reconnaissance vehicles. Yes. Chaffee's got a spider. So there they come round again to get a look at them. Kettenkrad. Here comes the Ford version. Poor old boy's armoured car, I was so shouted all about. Daimler Dingo. Daimler Armoured Car. Anti-tank weapons. Taking your time and your attention.
The smaller vehicle gun being towed by the Jeep is the 6-pounder, and my colleague here, Simon, will start to tell you all about this very special weapon.
So the 6-pounder was designed as a replacement for the 2-pounder, which came to service in 1936. As soon as the 6-pounder was in service, design work was completed by 1938, and by 1939 there was a working prototype, and the plan was to start producing 6-pounders in 1940. The weight of the actual gun itself, the whole equipment weighs 2,500 pounds, just over a ton. In the first year of production they produced 200. In the second year of production they produced 17,850. It is currently being towed by Jeep, which is not its normal towing vehicle, but today we're towing it with a Jeep. The detachment for the 6-pounder was 6 men in the Royal Artillery. You do not have a gun crew, you have a detachment. Yeah, we can see here that the 17-pounder is now going into action. The number 1 jumps out, he will run forward to the position he wants the gun. The driver of the tractor will drive at him. The number 1 will call halt action rear, at which point the detachment, who all have individual jobs, will immediately get themselves sorted into their jobs. The 6-pounder is doing the same thing now. Yeah? It's slightly different to the 6-pounder. I'll pass back to Adrian. He can tell you a little bit about the 17-pounder, because that's a very unusual piece.
Thank you for that, Simon. The 17-pounder was developed, or at least first conceived, in 1940, before the 6-pounder went into production. It was deemed that we needed a vehicle, a weapon that could take on any other battle tank on the known battlefields at the time. 17 millimetre with a length of 15 feet of special carriage to take on whilst that was being developed, we got wind that the Germans were going to deploy their brand new shiny Tiger tanks to North Africa. And it was decided the 6-pounder, and then later on, when we developed the Sabot, so we ended up with a 7mm of armour. That would take out the German Tiger II as well as the Tiger I with ease. But because we did not have the gun, engage!
Tiger! Push from left to right! 200 yards! Engage!
That's the baby gun. Pheasant, 17-pounder. 1 round. Engage.
Down.
Thank you. Can we hear your applause for that? We'll fire some more on.
3 rounds. Rapid fire. Engage.
Tiger! 300 yards! Engage!
Rapid fire, engage. The detachments will now go through the drills to take the guns out of action. Garrison artillery volunteers are, as it says, we're all volunteers. Some of us are serving by private individuals, and we do this sort of thing at weekends at various shows throughout the year. We didn't mention before, because the 17-pounder is on a 25-pounder platform, it has a traversing platform. The tractor, the Morris quad coming back in now with the Limber. The Limber carried 32 rounds of 25-pounder ammunition, obviously slightly less 17-pounder ammunition because the round is so... Ladies and gentlemen, the Garrison Artillery Volunteers. Hello, ask any questions you have.
And this is based on components of existing cars. And what they did was they took this chassis-less armoured construction, they were able to weld it together, and they were able to put this vehicle together. This got the flared wheel arch at the back, that's how you notice the Mark II. And this would have been, they'd have built 1,050 of these. So here it is parking up now. So basically what we have here, this is your Daimler Armoured Car, this is the Mark I. Obviously we've had armoured cars since the First World War with the Rolls-Royce armoured cars. That means it's got a pedigree. And the key thing with this is, they really get this right. They got it right with the Dingo. That was the one that achieved all the specifications that the General Staff wanted. You can listen to that engine, it sounds fantastic. And it's just rolled in here now. And basically, there are the little bits, they changed the radiators, changed some of the grill, and modified the gun. But that's the main difference between that and the Mark II. So, what we're going to do now is they're going to prepare the arena and get ready for the next stage, which is the other vehicles coming on, and the main attraction with the Tiger.
The one thing we know about the German army in World War II was that one of their great assets, one of their great skills was defence in depth. And that's precisely what we're seeing here. We're at a part of the desert called Geriat El Attack, better known to the British as Point 174. That simply means it was 174 metres above sea level, but it was here, at this point, that the Afrika Korps have decided to dig in and to hold the route to Tunis. It's a war, they know what to expect, they know the Germans are going to be no pushover. Now they're setting up a fire base using their light machine gun, the Bren light machine gun, to lay down some fire on the German positions. And when they have subdued the Germans, they will have been advanced. Basically, he's going to come down pretty much to push a bayonet, as it always had done. That woke them up. Right, the Tommies are here, guys. You know what you're doing? Firefight now. The Thor and the Sherwoods. The only way to clear them is to go in and do it hand to hand. Here they go. Now, the Germans are moving out, but this is no rout, ladies and gentlemen. This is a prepared tactic. They know where they're going. They've got another line of defence. So basically, having cleared the first line of German trenches, this is Matilda II, the Queen of the Desert. Excellent vehicle. David made reference in his talk about the Tiger to the reason why the Tiger was created. There's the reason, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that the German 37mm anti-tank guns of 1940 couldn't penetrate the armour on this particular vehicle. And Matilda's been followed up by one of the first American contributions to the war, and at least this is the M24 Stuart. None of the Shermans were according to Stuart, while they were concerned about the Eighth Army always refers to the M3 as the Matilda has done so well against the Italians in the outbreak of the war in the desert. The Germans have done the sensible thing in the face of British armour. They have withdrawn to their third defensive line. So that third defensive line may very well contain anti-tank capability. So our Matilda's advancing quite cautiously. Ah, right. Absolutely. Matilda's been hit. And it looks as if she's been disabled. MT-34, capable of throwing out a lot of bullets, so it's safer to stay. Ah, got it. Got the anti-tank gun. Well done, sir. The gun's still working. So the Matilda neutralised the German anti-tank gun. Germans aren't giving up because they know that there's a counterattack coming in. And here it comes. German armour coming into the fray now. A German Panzer III. The workhorse of the Afrika Korps. Got a 50mm gun there in the turret. A very capable machine. Panzer III's got the muscle on this battlefield against the 40mm of the Matilda and the 37 on the Stuart. Now the Shermans are advancing. They need to push the Germans out of this last position. But we're still in the midst of a serious firefight. Now the Shermans have got their attention focused on the German trenches. What they haven't seen is the remains of the German reinforcements. Not a Panzer III this time, but a Panzer VI. The German Tiger. Now the Tiger is a step change up of anything the Allies have in North Africa at this time. We haven't got a vehicle, barely got an anti-tank that can cope with it. Remember, we heard how the second kind of tank rockets were on the way to try and deal with the Tiger. And the Panzer III's hit the Stuart. So the Shermans now have no armoured support. The Matilda's been immobilised, the Stuart's been knocked out by the Panzer III. And the Tiger is making his way up. To a firing position. All of a sudden the Shermans have lost the initiative. So much so that they're doing the sensible thing and falling back. Well, tank regiment, 48 RTR should be on site by now, or these elements of should be on site by now. At the moment, they're nowhere to be seen. The Shermans are desperately trying to hold this position. The arrival of that Tiger has changed the entire complexion of this battlefield. Oh, we're getting some artillery coming in now. This looks like the German. Yep, the Germans are putting down artillery fire. Things are looking increasingly desperate for the Sherwoods. If the Germans can get their range, and let's face it, they should know where they are. They're in a German position. It's only a matter of time before those shells start falling closer. There's a very valiant man there just taking a pop at the Tiger with his 303. What are they going to do? Everything they've got, they're throwing at that Tiger. Red, Lee Enfield, anything to try and stop it. If you can get into an enfilading position, he doesn't even need to use its 88mm. He can use the machine guns he's got there to sweep the Sherwoods out of that position. Taking his time, he's trying to get to a perfect firing position. Come on, 48 RTR, where are you? The Sherwoods desperately need some heavy armament here to try and deal with this Tiger. If you get close enough, a Piat is an effective weapon, but against a Tiger, it's a desperate, brave attempt to try and slow it down. And they fired, absolutely no effect. Skidded off, and what's more, the Germans are advancing. There we are! It's a Churchill. It's a Churchill from 48 RTR coming in now. as heavily armoured as the Tiger, but not as heavily armed. That 75mm gun there on the Churchill is going to struggle to penetrate the armour of the Tiger. But at least it's redressing the balance to some extent. Other suggestions are that it's a German anti-tank gun. It's difficult to be entirely sure, but we do know that they have managed to get an anti-tank gun into operation. So these guys are not gunners. We saw some gunners operating this morning. These guys are not gunners. They're going to do the best they can. Literally, they're going to throw everything they can at that Tiger. There's always a chance that you can shatter a periscope into the commander. Do something to slow it down. This is all very, very different stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It could go either way. Here comes the Churchill. Mostly 6-pounder Churchill. The 6-pounders were drilled out to take the American 75mm round. Both fire. Now, that's it. You've got to hit there. Both the anti-tank gun and the Churchill have got shot in. Have they hit it? The Shermans think they have. They're advancing. No sign of what's going on with the Tiger. The Tiger seems to be immobilised. That's it, the shield's on it now, come on guys! We do know that the Tiger has taken damage. Wait a minute, I can get the crew, they're running for it, they've decided to abandon it, they've got going in, and that's it, it's all over. The Germans look badly shaken by the loss of the Tiger. The Germans are surrendering. The Shermans have the position, and the road to Tunis is open. Very much what the dingo is intended for. They come to have a look at what's going on. They're checking the situation.
Allow better models to be all the factories tooling up for that. So it's not till 1942 do we put that bigger gun, the 6-pounder on the Churchill, goes into action that way. We've got the 17-pounder on the go, a really, really impressive bit of kit, but we can't find a tank to put it on. It's really hard work because it's such a big gun. And again, many of you here, you'll know the story. We designed a tank called the A30 Challenger. Guys down at the gunnery school at Lulworth, a guy called Witheridge. He hears from the Ministry of the Supply, we cannot fit a 17-pounder gun on the American Sherman. The Americans brilliantly are coming up with tanks to help us at a time when our own concentration is just about survival. It's about building Spitfires and Hurricanes to fend off the Luftwaffe. It's about building bombers to get back at Germany, and it's about building up our navy, and that tank becomes the Firefly, and by D-Day, 1 in 3 of the British Shermans going ashore, we've now at long last got a tank powerful enough with a gun that can take on vehicles like the Tiger, especially with our new ammunition type. With starting Shadow, fire a pot, with a flood of country, hot water away, country
back in time a little bit, in the early 1930s, Britain decided we were starting to rearm. 1930, Great Depression, protecting flanks every now and again as well. 3 types of tanks Britain's going to make. The very first, the Matilda I, we sometimes run here. There's our Matilda II down there, 78mm Abrasive. So this version, this is called the Ausrum L model, A, B, C, D. They work their way through the letters. This fellow coming on, it's now got a 50mm gun. So again, they've improved the firepower on the tank. Starts life 30mm of armour protection. This one, when it drives past, you'll see they've added more armour plate, another 20mm spaced armour over the front there. That gives you 50mm of armour protection. So they can improve their tanks. The problem with the Panzer III is it basically runs out of ability to be improved. It gets too heavy. Extra armour, that 120 TRN engine in the back, made by a company called Maybach, petrol engine. There's only a certain amount of extra armour protection you can put on it. But this Panzer III, when it's captured in North Africa, you think at the Battle of Alam Halfa, it's brought back to Britain for analysis, and one of the things the British realised the Germans have got right, it's got great crew positions, the ergonomics inside, commanders in the middle at the back there. They copied the Vickers medium tank. Let's have 3 crew members in the turret. Commander, you've got a gunner and a loader all in that turret, driver and funker or radio operators in the front. 5 crew members, and when the commander is in his seat with a hatch, that's the one they can put a bigger gun on, they can carry on improving and therefore seem to get more length in its service life. Now driving around in the background there, the famous American Sherman. This one you'll all know if you've watched the war movie Fury. It was borrowed from the other denominations that come out afterwards, A2, A3, about the engine in the back. A2, M4A2, this has got a twin diesel engine in the rear. Quite simply, America wanted to make so many tanks. They like the idea of using aeroplane engines, radial engines. Actually, the aircraft industry needs those radial engines as well. So they end up with 4 different engine types in the Sherman. Some are used a lot. The Americans particularly don't like that version with a diesel engine. They give it to the Marines and they give it to Britain and also the Soviet Union. But we did that tank up to look like a later war American tank for the movie. 76mm gun. Again, inside the museum, you'll see the American start. We've got the older Sherman remaining in the collection in there. Number 2 off the production line. It'll fire a good high explosive round and not bad armour piercing. Once we realise in North Africa the Americans start picking up, we're going to need a more powerful gun. This 76mm gun, only a millimetre bigger, but again it's got much more welly behind the rounds coming out. And as the war progresses, each of those tank factories, 11 factories make Shermans in America, quite often you'll end up with improvements, wider track. This is something, is it the worst tank, everything else that way, didn't matter. The Americans, to them it was good enough, it was 30 tons, it could be shipped all over the world, they weren't going to fight in America, the Pacific or Europe, and it was going to be a conscript army. No point making these like the fighter pilots do, that need weeks and weeks and weeks. This is going to be a tank that people can use quickly, and it works that way. And of course, with American mines, 49,000 made, they supply it to Britain, the Commonwealth countries, Soviet Union, etc. as well. So, summer of 1941, British troops, as Tim mentioned, called it the Humming.
arrogant, and they know their war plan, when war comes, we are going to throw money at the problem. And they get the best brains in America. Head of General Motors, he comes along. They've been building cars, a guy called Nunston, and he's the guy they put in charge of tank production. We're going to do it like Henry Ford did it. Not one or two, we're going to have a whole factory. Raw metal at one end, tank comes out the other, and it works for them. They've made an enormous number of tanks from literally a standing start. And that fantastic little M3 there, we called it a Honey. The first time British soldiers took it through, it was going to be used to fire at ground targets, thin wall, so it's relatively light, same size shell as a Sherman tank. Thin armour, but let's angle it to get the best armour protection. You angle armour, horizontal shots, of course, better to go through. And they go to Cadillac to design it. And Audrey was swept off in a tank attack in Normandy. The tank behind radio forward and said, "You've lost Audrey, his little good luck doll." In the middle of a battle, the driver stops the tank, they jump out, they get Audrey, and they go back fighting again. They couldn't risk going into action without their good luck little doll. That's on display inside. So, a fantastic light war American light tank that sees combat way after World War II as well. Now, a bit of a rarity going on now. This is something we have had here before. This is the Centaur. And I confused myself talking about this. 3 different models of what's going to become the Cromwell tank. Cavalier, Centaur and Cromwell. We've got a great engine for our aeroplanes. You've all heard of it, the Merlin. Goes on the Spitfire. Powers the Lancaster bombers. A guy called Rumpty Rowbottom, great name, he derates it, he gets it ready for a tank. But we haven't got enough production, but they convert just under 100 of them, and they put a 95mm gun, and they're used by the Royal Marine Armoured Support Unit on D-Day. They go ashore, they're supposed to only be there for about a week or two, they're still fighting a month later. So they turn out to be quite effective. They're the tanks you see with those funny white lines all around the turret. They were used there so guys outside could radio into the tank and say, you want to go 10 degrees, 20 degrees left. This is was converted later in the war to a dozer. This particular Centaur been taken back to a gun tank. Back of this one you can hear that Nuffield Liberty engine wasn't that reliable. That Easter engine, when we got it ready, 650 horsepower. And that gives that tank, you can put more armour on it. You can get places faster with a 650 horsepower engine fuel supplies there that way. So you have to pick your tank for the role you're going to need it on. Now with the Cromwell, we carry on the improvement. This is our cruiser tank series. These are the ones that once the infantry tanks have made the hole, the Churchill Mark III there, cruisers go through. What we've got coming on now, this is the Comet tank. It's an improved Cromwell, about 40% commonality of parts. We've now got, listen to that fantastic noise, it's a Meteor engine in the back. They were going to put silencers on the back and they thought, sod it, don't waste your time. If you look on the rear there, there's no silencer at all, a couple of fishtail exhausts, you're going to hear this coming. That's part of its effect. What we do put on it is a fantastic bit of firepower, a 77mm gun, penetration than the gun on the Panther. So this was a cracking bit of kit. It's the last of those tanks that we put the step front on. If you look at all our British tanks out here, they've got that step front, not a nice angled one. We do that with the Centurion. That's so we can fit a piece of machine gun. Someone comes along and says, do we really need a hull machine gun? Let's do that nice slow bit of armour in the future. Now the Comet is issued to troops. We reissue tanks, like the Shermans, to the 7th Armoured Division. They thought that if they're going to meet German tanks, go and meet them in a tank you're used to, not something you're just learning how to use. It does see action though in the spring of 1945, that great Meteor engine in the back, and now we're getting up to about 10 centimetres of armour protection like the Tiger on the front. Forgotten he's on set and he's telling everyone how useless the CO is. Very easily. It spreads its weight out over those wide tracks that interleave road wheels that it's got there. So we have to be careful about some of the myths of the Tiger. The simple truth is there's not enough of them, and that's great for the Allies and not so good for the Germans. 1,300 of these Tigers made, as I mentioned earlier, 49,000 Germans. We've got 79,000 in Centaur. See that difference that you've got there in size. What a leap forward in terms of just sheer scale. The power of that 88mm gun compared to a 5cm gun. This thing could knock you out. Ranges out to 2.5 kilometres. Most Allied tanks would, well, pretty much every Allied tank would suffer against that gun there. 50cm, sorry, 5cm gun on the Panzer III. But here's what we fought against it, coming on now. not an unfair comparison in terms of numbers. We've got, what have we got? 7 Allied tanks against these 2 German ones. And that's really the lesson of tank warfare in World War II. You can have really good kit, but if the enemy outnumbers you, one of them's going to get up your rear where your armour's thinner and take you out that way. So a bit of a numerical comparison then is the one that does most damage on the eastern front, the T-34-85. So, fantastic lineup of World War II armour there. Just for your own benefit, these are tanks, some of them owned by... So what we're going to do for you now, ladies and gentlemen, Tiger and Panzer III are going to head back into the museum, so they'll be available there. Watch it, we're going to have to put the barriers up around them, to have a closer look at the rest of the kit we've got here, have a word with the crews.
I reckon they'll hang crankable, but no one wants to do it. I don't think the hydraulic is going. I think you're right. Fury?
It's good. You'll see things
Pretty beefy, easy. Chassis.
Yeah.